Following on from last week, I was really looking forward to getting back to the prison and seeing everyone today. Last week was really fun, and so when we arrived today, again, we just did what we did the previous times: get our passes, show them our passports, have lunch. Today again we'd be working in a different part of the prison. We'd be working in the media labs. So this was interesting. It's quite a nice space. The room we were in was a little bit of a difficult working room because the workstations were at the outside of the room and they were attached, so we couldn't rearrange the room to make it more suitable for sort of group work. There was a computer in the back of the room and there was a printer. Because the men can only move on mass movement, and that's all the inmates, it means that they don't always arrive on time. We have stragglers. Today we had 4. When we asked where Martin was, apparently Martin was missing. Nobody knew where he was, which isn't exactly something you want to hear while you're in prison, but a funny moment. We were just all sat around chatting with the inmates whilst we were, waiting to get started. And one of the media lab workers came in and said hi and was using the computers in the back room. She looked up and she said, "Who's turned the printer on?" And, I hadn't seen anyone turn the printer on. And she asked this a couple of times, and eventually Scott said, "Yeah, sorry, it was me. I turned the printer on." I didn't think too much into it. I didn't see that it was a big issue or anything. But she left the room, and I thought that was the end of that. We were continuing our conversation, and a few minutes later, she came in like a bat out of hell. She was wound up. She was aggressive, and she sort of barked, "This is why none of you can be trusted. You can't work in here. You're going to have to find somewhere else. And, you're all untrustworthy," referring to the inmates, not the volunteers. And I was very shocked. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why this is all kicking off. And one of the inmates calmly said, what have we done to be untrustworthy? You can't say that and then, not give us any reasons. And she turned to Daz, one of the students, who, bearing in mind, was at the opposite side of the room. He'd done nothing wrong. She told him that he was no longer allowed to be on the Makeright course. She was removing him from it, which totally uncalled for, totally unjust. And she told him that he had to leave the room. And Daz was like, "Well, I can't leave unless my gaffer, tells me I can leave." So she was like, "Right, that's it." So she went off, she got whoever. Daz left the room. There was a little bit of arguing, but, didn't really go too much into that. We got taken over to a different room by the chapel, and I found myself in a situation where we were all talking about what had happened, volunteers and inmates, and we were saying how uncalled for it was and how we didn't agree with that. And they were saying that, she's like that all the time and the gaffer has issues with her. And, Danny was saying she treats everyone the same and we're all different and it's just unfair. And I did agree with him. Later on, I realised that actually that was such a bad move, to be so open and vocal about it. That's not what I'm there for, to get sucked into prison drama. It's about, making a difference. So I was a little bit upset with myself, but it was very hard not to get sucked into the drama at the time. I felt that, later on, Vanessa and Lorraine sort of sat down and spoke to us about it, and they said that, you have to be careful because when you talk about things like that, but the men see it as like a bit of a weakness and that you might easily be influenced. They might not, but you know, in turn, you know, inmates can learn to be quite manipulative. You know, can you bring this thing? Can you do that? And you know, we're just not about that. Yeah, we did eventually get sat down and start working. We finalised our personas and our stories to make sure there was no flags. There was only 3 guys, so we went through it individually, you know, and we did a bit of a map, and everyone was really engaged, and it meant that we knew what each of the inmates were doing for their project, and it felt very focused and it felt very productive, and it was a good end to an interesting start. Also, the experience of Daz being thrown off showed a different side to the prison. I think you sort of get stuck in this bubble of you know, and you let your guard down, so it was good to be reminded of why we need to make sure that we're, you know, staying vigilant.